Good after evening noon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ham Radio Kids Table. This is not your grandfather's ham
That,
radio.
No, it's not.
hello,
Man, I'll tell
party
you what, one of these
people.
days I am going to learn how to kick us
You,
off properly. But and as long as Vince is here, we've got it.
I don't know why
We've
you
got
don't
it.
have cue cards.
I don't know. I would think that I would think by now I'd have a cue cards as a professional cue card reader, right?
You know,
Yeah.
the only thing that needs to be added to that intro is back when I was your age, Sonny.
Well,
That's it,
I'm obviously I am looking. So guys, gals, if you're out here, send in a video if you wanna find yourself in the intro there of that. If you got questions, just reach out to me and I will give you some parameters. But just basic stuff. If you've got a YouTube channel, let's introduce it and get it out there. So, well, hey guys, welcome to the Ham Radio Kids Table. Tonight is going to be another fun night. It's going to be a short night tonight because we have the Ham Nation going live in about an hour. So we want to make sure that we are clearly have cleared the runway for the Ham Nation to take off. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I saw maybe kind of start a new segment called Helping Hams, and definitely tonight one Reddit post at a time. If anybody has had an opportunity to read Reddit and some of the some of the stuff that's in the amateur radio section there is pretty good. But
Mhm.
but while while I'm still
Well,
actually putting
it typifies the running joke, right? You ask two hams for an opinion, you get seven opinions.
Only seven?
Only seven, and it's on a slow day, right?
Okay.
And
But
so,
you
Got it.
and
post it
so,
on Facebook, you're gonna get 1,000.
right, and so Reddit's kind of like that. There are some good answers in the mix.
yeah.
So anyway, tonight we're going to try and help somebody who posted on Reddit just earlier this week, and
Well,
let's see what we can do.
I think actually it's part of a bigger discussion. Before we get into that, let's go around the horn real quick, and we can start with Jeff, and just kind of introduce yourself, Jeff, and let everybody know what what Jeff's all about.
What I'm about?
I know.
Hey, it's Jeff, Kilo 3, Juliet Romeo Zulu, and you're watching the Ham Radio Kids Table. What I'm about is no fakes, no frauds, no liars. Everything I do, you see. Um, I'm at where I say I'm at. I've talked to who I talked to, and
Well,
I did what I did. There you go.
I guess maybe I rephrased that. Why don't you tell us about your YouTube channel?
Well, like I just said, it's
It's
no
like you
fakes,
said,
no
but 8-bit.
frauds, no logs. It documents my code activations of where I'm at, who I contacted, and what I did, what happened there,
Jeff,
the good and the bad.
you're severely underselling the production quality that you put into the videos with the 8-bit graphics and the sound and the special effects and everything else. You're severely underselling yourself, bud.
That is
Well, I did grow up in the 80s. I did have an affection for video games back then with the 8-bit and whatever. And yeah, just kind of nostalgic. I'm all into the freaking 80s music. That's where I kind of learned my music identity and listen to all the different bands and all the different influences I have net for nowadays and my music career and all that other stuff that now in the past. So it just comes all together in the YouTube stuff. The editing of videos kind of like how I learned to edit real tape, but it's all digital now. So it's the producer slash artist in me doing it now in video. Not the best at it. I could film stuff. Maybe not film the greatest stuff that you might be interested in. But at least I could put it together very nicely.
But Jeff, the question is, are you getting Hollywood money for this?
I can't even get 2,000 subscribers.
So there we go, man. Look, people are welcome to a full refund for all the money they put into it, right? Which is
Yes.
$0.
No.
That's what I tell people when they complain about a video I make. I'm like, I'll give you a full refund for what you sent nothing and got it.
Hey, they don't like my videos. You can go watch someone else's. I
Exactly.
don't care. Hey, you clickbaited me. Well, all the videos on YouTube are clickbait. You're just too stupid to know that.
All right.
Chip appears to be extra spicy this evening.
Ooh, watch out.
Just
Somebody
a bit.
grab a gallon of milk because Jeff is extra spicy.
Yeah.
How you doing tonight, my buddy? My friend.
Who, me? I'm doing
No,
good.
Vince. No, Vince. How
Oh,
you doing?
what'd you say, Vince?
Well, I wasn't sure which one of us you're talking to because
Yeah, I
we're all
didn't
buddies,
hear you say
right? I mean,
Vince.
that's the fun about this. Well, good after evening, noon. I am Vince. Ham Smarter with Vince VE6LK is what the tagline says. Come to my channel and find out the smarter ways to do things. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you do not have to ham harder. You don't have to take the hard approach to get there. You can just think about it a bit and go out and still have lots of fun.
But-
That's what you'll find on my channel.
Oh man, that sounds counter. That sounds counter to the culture.
Yes, it does sound counter the culture. Got that right. That's it, Tim.
Hmm.
That's nice and simple, man.
Mike, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing good. Glad I was able to make it in. And Mike N2MAK, I'm sure most of you guys watching know who I am, but portable amateur radio. That's what I do. You heard it in the intro. You saw it with the sweater vest and the tie and everything. I'm that guy.
So do you go POTA like that or?
If
He
I'm going
has.
after work, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, there's times I got a 2 for, 3 for, like 15, 10 minutes from the office, from my house. Like, so, when I can squeeze it in, I can. I usually don't get out for more than an hour or so. So it's like when I can fit stuff in, I'm gonna fit it in. And
I think I've referred to you on Twix as the was it the sharpest dressed POTA operator or the sharpest, yes, something along those lines. Because I have not seen, and there could be, but I have not seen other people go out with a shirt and tie on and do POTA.
no, especially at a wildlife management area,
No.
it's, I'm definitely the sharpest one in the forest, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, like this, I got into the ham radio. I always said, I was a pandemic ham, right? And and the best thing about POTA was it got me out of the house, because back then years ago, like we're all cooped up, and just getting out of the house and getting out there is so much fun. And whenever I can squeeze that in, I'm gonna try to make it happen.
Good deal. Good deal. Carlos, how about you?
Yes.
How are you doing tonight?
I got to tell you, fellas, I'm doing far better than I deserve. I looked at my stats this morning and I went, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be dead by now. So the fact that I'm alive and taking up, oxygen is awesome for me.
Are you reading the actuary tables again?
Well, not so much the actuary table, so much. So I'm looking at the stuff that I did and I've done, and I'm like, how did I survive that foolish act?
Tell you what, that's a crazy science, by the way.
The actuaries, yes, man.
Yes, yeah, it's
Those
pretty
people
exact too.
have some serious math chops and are starved for something to do that's fun.
I don't know. Paul, our friend Paul, says the bow tie adds 6 dB, Mike.
Yep.
I think it does.
It's my salt water, man. All I got is fresh water up here.
It's made out of that Faraday material, so it helps out.
I will be bringing the mesh tie stick to
Brilliant.
Hamvention. It is being loaned to me.
Tie. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember. The only tie stick that I'm aware of, Vince, may not get through customs.
Yeah.
Not legally.
Well, we'll find out. Hey, Tim, tell us about your channel, man.
Well, I'm just me. The guy I get to hang out and kind of document what I enjoy doing, and that's electronics and amateur radio and things like that, and getting out and having John. We don't talk about that on the channel. So, we could be kid friendly. We should be kid friendly. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is teaching through through action, right? And just getting out and showing people. And I stumbled across Reddit, and I saw this question, and it kind of led me down the line. And four of us on here are professional problem solvers, and Mike, he's a politician.
I'm not a politician. I just work with the politicians.
Yeah, close enough. You're a politician in training. But what I've seen is a kind of everything has been kind of boiled down to how fast can we answer questions. You see this all the time. People, I think we've lost the skill of being able to ask questions, critically think, but also give good answers. And I don't know if it's this desire to be the first one to answer the question, or the one that says, well, it's been asked and answered, or just irritated. We've seen the resources. I mean, there's a reason that the POTA Facebook page is generally considered a giant dumpster fire. And I think we as a community can probably do better listening, and do better answering, and do better asking and reading, but just being a little more critical about that. I mean, we have to do critical thinking as part of our day jobs, right? And you can end up wasting a lot of time and clients and customers or employers' money by going down rabbit holes that are of no value, right? And I think that kind of is translated out to resources like Facebook and Reddit and things like that, when we're answering questions that people ask, and don't give it a fair shake, I guess, instead of just saying the ask and answered. I want to throw it up on the screen to the group here, and just kind of have
throw it up.
Around the horn kind of discussion about it. And let's see if I can bring us back in here.
See, this is the kind of question that needs to be answered nicely, because the only way we're going to get that person in the hobby is by attracting them with a decent answer, right? With a compassionate and reasonable answer. If we go off the rails with it, and to be fair, I will admit I've gone off the rails myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that question earlier, and someone had answered it the way I thought it would needed to be answered, so I left it alone. It's like, you know what? Someone else already. I just upvoted that the answer I liked.
So this is a recent question in the Reddit. So people could have seen it and might have answered it since I looked at it. But after I read through the first 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 responses, I kind of was like, well, there sounds like a show topic is where what I took from it. But just kind of looking at just dissecting, and I don't want to pick on anybody's responses in general, but kind of just looking at that and starting off, how do I get into this? And that is an open-ended question, right? And you're going to get open-ended answers all over the place. Somebody said, well, go to hamstudy.org. Well, that's right there in the second sentence. That's where they took it, right? So
yeah, they've already gone down that road.
Exactly. In the first test, it seems like the sample test, they scored a 50%, and they're 2/3 of the way from having a passing grade. The third sentence there, they state that they have an engineering background, electrical circuits, waveforms, physics, and such.
Sounds like a maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the technical questions for easy for them, and any advice. Once again, another open-ended kind of question.
Very open.
But most people, I look at that and I see that somebody needs help with the regulatory side of amateur radio, and not
That and just
necessarily.
getting his license. It's just that and getting his license.
Yep.
He kind of sounds like to me. He's like, okay, I took an exam and I got about 50%, and I have his engineering background. That's awesome, dude. Keep studying.
Yeah.
Taking one practice exam is not going to get you a license.
Well, I think I got that, and I think they're saying, hey, I've stumbled across hamstudy.org. I took a sample exam. I've got an engineering background. Where do I get started?
Yeah, he's already started. He just hasn't followed through yet. He did find hamstudy.org, which is an awesome site to study on. Sign up for an account, do study mode, do it consistently. That's where he seems to have stopped. He took one exam and stopped, and mistakenly asked on Reddit what he should do or any advice. He needs to follow through with studying to get the exam to pass at least his first exam. Yeah. Now I've gone through this pretty briefly, and a few people have stated that you should study for all three, or at least get your general also. But that's great, but he still needs to study, and no one is like ham radio prep. You know what? Ham radio prep, most of the people we see through the VE sessions that fail use ham radio prep only because they only see a fraction of the question pools that they're studying for.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
all
are saying
opinions
take
are
practice.
Expressed here are of the individual contributors, and
yes,
all hate mail can be sent to
there's someone that
MRD at iCloud.net.
There is someone that lists many places where they can study. They list eham.net, hamstudy.org, hamexam.org, the ARRL sites for each level, YouTube, ham radio tube, ham solo, some YouTube channels that are great to get information from, to either study or just to get general information from. Again, the guy that asking the question, and someone else right after that is assuming USA and get your general. Yeah. Then telling him what radios to get and what antennas to get.
Isn't that kind of like putting the cart in front of the horse?
Yeah. There are people that are telling him to go to certain YouTube channels. Another one that says hamstudy.org.
I'd like to point out that they didn't say any of our channels, by the way.
Yeah, bastards.
Well, yeah.
But there are some people that are giving him good advice. It's a freaking book at the very last comment. He did say go to hamstudy.org, take many practice exams, continue tests until you consistently get 90 or better. Local club can help. He's a lot of stuff in there, but I'm just reading some quick stuff there. But the original poster only goes a little bit. He took like at least a tiny step forward, but hasn't continued trying to move forward yet. Yeah. In my opinion, he should start studying and then worry about everything else after he gets his license. That's my opinion.
So
wow, what two really different reads on this question. This is fascinating. Yeah. I want to hear the other guys' reads on these questions.
Well, I think one of the things is, and I usually start out by kind of pointing this out anytime I get into conversations when it comes to getting a license and stuff, is I think it's important to point out people learn in different ways. Obviously, people come into the hobby 100%. With different backgrounds, but I think it's important to point out people learn in different ways. I studied using an audiobook, and I carved out time at least 1 to 2 hours every day for a couple weeks, and I just listened to the audiobook. I made notes on my phone when I was walking. I got all my steps in, and stuff, but that's what worked for me. I was able to do that. But I think it's important to point out there's different resources. Ham Study is one of the great ones that's out there. especially, given that it's free, it's online, you can get an app, you can do it on your phone, online, whatever. Audiobooks, I use the Fast Track Cam one. I think it's worth pointing out audiobooks for a couple different reasons. One is that people learn differently, and some people may appreciate that. Another reason is sometimes it's easier to fit into your commute, your lifestyle, or whatever. Like I was walking when I was doing it, but you can listen on your commute. Sometimes that's convenient, but also, and I mentioned this in a video that I've never aired because I want to redo it. I just wasn't happy with how it turned out. But it's about getting into the hobby for under $100, and that includes paying for the test, materials, your radio, and everything else. But the price, you can, if you have Audible, then you're already paying for it. You can get a free book, or you can sign up for a free trial. So you can get that technician audiobook usually for free. But then there's also the visual books, and I think it's good to point out a couple of the books that are out there too, whether it's the ARL one, Gordon West, whoever. Point out some of the books, and then there's visual resources with YouTube. There's some good YouTube videos and stuff out there. So I think pointing out some of those resources just to learn that can be good, because people are coming from different backgrounds. They might learn differently. They might want different price points. They might not want to spend a lot of money, or they might be willing to spend money and it's not an object. I think it's good to talk about some of those resources that are out there that are different, and not just a couple websites here or there. So
That is true. I've talked to many local people because I recently got my extra, and I've told people, it's like, yeah, I want to get mine. It's like, well, you should study and do it this way, like I advise. And they say, well, I have learning disabilities, or I don't learn stuff easily. I'm like, well, there's audiobooks, there's multiple YouTube channels that have done walkthroughs of all the exams.
Yep.
And there's just people learn different ways, but the one thing that is consistent through all of those is that you need to do it consistently. Because if you do it like once a week, once a month, it's not going to stick in your head. And I know that from me studying, I started to study 2 years ago, and then I got sidetracked, and then I tried to go back to it, and I had to basically start all over again. And I didn't remember anything like the last time I studied, and then I stopped again, and then I finally put the nose to the grindstone and did it, and I had to do it consistently so it's stuck in my head. That's the key thing. However you're going to study, website, a book, a video, an audiobook, you have to do it consistently so it stays in your head. And once it's in your head and you're comfortable with it, then you can start spitting it out during an exam. So it's just to get it in your head, and however you have to do it is the way you should do. You need to do it. I mean, I can't tell someone, oh, you have to study with hamstudy.org. It's a good resource, and it works for some people, works for many people. But again, I understand that people have learned differently, but you need to do whatever it is consistently, so so the material stays in your head.
One other thing I just wanted to point out too is normally in certain, Reddit might not be the easiest way to have a back and forth conversation when someone's asking a question, right? But I think Vince made a comment about asking the ham a question, you're going to get like half a dozen different answers, or he made a comment like that in the beginning, and I kind of wanted to jump in and say, the problem is when you ask hams a question, you usually get an answer instead of a question in return, and more often than not, we should be returning not with an answer but with a question. And the question I would ask to someone like this is, well, where do you live? And stuff, because there may be good clubs or whatnot. I know my club, I'm in a larger club, but we do testing sessions for technician, for general, and extra twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. My oldest son went through it when he was 11 and got his license, and he did the online class that my club did, and for a few months. But that's another option or resource out there. So I think it's important, like when someone's asking a question like this, how do I get into it? Like, well, where are you? Because you might have a club or multiple clubs that are a good resource, and you might have people right there that want to help you out, maybe loan you their book, so you don't have to
Yep.
pay for one, things like that. So,
And the nice thing about VE sessions nowadays is clubs do them in person. There's 2 clubs that I know that do it like every 2 months or so. And there's the remote option, which a lot of VECs have gotten into because it offers so many different time slots on any day. You can take an exam almost at any time during the day on almost any day remotely. And that's also a good thing for some people that they may not like to go out in public. They may not have a club near them that does it close by or in driving distance. Back in the day, people had to drive like 100 miles to go to the FCC office to take their exam.
I want to interject with a quick thing here. The portable ham, who's a over the road truck driver, says, and just because of the nature of what I do for a living, I have to use audiobooks to study. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now, studying for my extra. So a lot of windshield time involved in that job. And so he's utilizing that time in a way that may not be the best way for him to study, but it is the one way that he can study while he's
exactly
is the way he
that
has.
is. Yeah, if he has all that time driving cross country, and rather listen to music, be productive, and listen to the exam audiobooks or the question pool audiobooks. That's great. That's a great way to use your time. And then you could, if you wanted to, you could supplement with either a physical book or study mode on any of the different websites. It's great.
So also follow up, our friend Jody. It's the beauty of YouTube is learning as a learning resource is that there's a pile of content creators. You shouldn't be stuck finding somebody you identify with. Not so easy to do in real life.
Exactly.
That's true. People are people, right? And so some people are better at conveying information than others. And even within our HamTube community, there are people that like me or don't like me, but like Vince instead, or like both of us. But Carlos, man, he's a little crazy. Those kind of things.
Local.
Yes, exactly. Right. So that is a good thing. And this is one of the, I try to encourage more and more people who are interested in making content. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be just posting things on Instagram or Twix or Facebook, not in the dumpster fire. And, just conveying that knowledge. I had a guy that we're in the same community, the VMware community. And he convinced me to start putting stuff on video and putting a YouTube, got my first YouTube channel, and basically just sharing my knowledge, the knowledge that I had gathered over the years. And this is really no different. I mean, it's a hobby versus a professional thing, and I guess IT could be a hobby too for some, but the point is that he convinced me to get out there and just start doing it. And I find it one satisfying to be able to do it, but also I'm sure it helps somebody. May not be for everybody, but I think it helps somebody to see it, whether it's just going out and doing a pod activation and how I run a pile up versus how Mike runs a pile up, or how Carlos or Vince does it in CW. I mean, there's so many different opportunities for somebody to walk away if and I'm learning, right? I'm learning at the same time, because I think you become a better, whatever X is, you become better at X when you teach it to somebody else.
Or they learn from your experience.
Well, exactly. Well, failure is the best teacher of them all, right?
Failure's not an option.
Well, it's not an option, but it is the best teacher.
So let's get on to what Mike said here for a minute. Mike said, we can get better answers if we ask more questions.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1980s or whenever the hell it was I took that training, we used to call that consultative selling. So a customer would come to me, and it happens to me at the candy store. Customer says, what's the best HF radio out there? And without missing a beat, I tell them the most expensive radio I have in stock.
Exactly.
And I said, and it's $17,426. Oh, well, I haven't got that much money. Oh, okay.
You
Well,
asked for the best one. What's that? There's the best one for
okay,
you.
so right. So everybody's got a different viewpoint on that. And that's the
Yeah.
point I'm getting to. And so I always take a minute, and so if they come back to me with an answer like that, they either said, yeah, sure, I'll take it. Great. Or
Hang on. How often
don't
has
have
that happened?
twice. And
Seriously. That's awesome, dude.
customers are unpredictable. And so then I'll follow up with, well, okay, do you have a budget in mind? Tell me about your features. Where are you going to use it? Give me
Details.
some details.
Details are very important.
Absolutely drives me freaking ape around the corner to see somebody post a question, what's the best handheld radio antenna?
Yes.
Without giving me any other frickin' information.
I just answer
Like-
yes.
Like, yes,
Anyone
there
you
are
have.
answers to this, but Mike's approach is totally right. Now, what about, wouldn't the world be a happier place? Wouldn't there be less dumpster fires if we all just took a minute to take a look at this question on the screen and see and say back to them, well, what do you mean about, and pick two elements? What are you hoping to do with ham radio? Or where did you not do so well on the practice test or something? But don't answer their question. Answer it with a question to elicit a response out of them so you can give them good, meaningful feedback. And then we don't have a dumpster fire of answers that go nowhere. And when I look at this particular Reddit post, the original poster didn't even comment back. So there's no feedback.
And that's my fear is that
Anyway.
did he get scared away, or was it like, wow, that's not what I was looking for?
So
Yeah, he needs.
anyway, that's my soapbox.
Yeah, details are very important when you're asking a question or requesting something. Like you go into a store, say you go into a sub shop and you go, I want a sandwich. Okay, what kind of sandwich?
Well,
I want a sandwich.
to be fair,
turkey? Do you want
to
ham?
be fair, Jeff, some of these people may not know the questions to ask because they're
Yes,
overwhelmed.
that is true.
And
I've seen that before.
if you've ever gone to
Sure.
to club meetings where you get some of these guys that want to come up and ham-splain to you. last field day that I walked into, last field day that I went to,
how we do stuff.
With their
Last
knees
field
wide
day-
apart.
last field day I went to, before the guy even asked me my name, he already started ham-splaining the whole thing to me. I'm like, whatever. I thank the people that had invited me, and I turned around and I left. And so I could see how other people could be overwhelmed with the ham-splaining, because I think it does boil back to, what are those questions, right? Hey, are you a ham now? That kind of thing. Those could have been the questions that guy, when I walked into that tent, could have been asked right off the bat, instead of just assuming that I didn't know everything and he was doing the proverbial ham-splaining, chest thumping, look at me, I'm smart, because that happens a lot too. Carlos, what do you think?
I think, it depends on how we approach the answer, right? So if we get this person to stay, to be attracted to the hobby, that we have to answer it thoughtfully, and the questions definitely go because, the question asked doesn't tell me really what they want to do, right? A ticket is a ticket is a ticket, but what are you going to do with it, right? I like I said, I scrolled through the comments, and one of the comments that I saw was reasonable enough that I was like, that's what I would say. I think close enough. So I decided to just upvote that one comment. But in general, the 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 Reddit arena, at least for amateur radio, is filled with either reasonable questions like this that perhaps don't have as much meat on the bone as they should, that can be extracted by asking other questions and filling in the blanks. And then there's the perpetual questions of what kind of antenna is this, and it's like, you know it, I don't know about you, but I'm 50 years old and I've seen TV antennas for 50 years, and I think I can recognize TV antenna. And how do you not recognize a TV antenna?
Exactly.
But with that in mind, I also have to realize that we're in 2025 and TV antennas are not as prevalent as they used to be, right?
Maybe up where you live, but down here,
So some 20-year-old that has always lived in a city that's never seen
Yeah.
a TV antenna moves out to the country, and they see this thing and they go, "What in the hell is that?"
Yep.
No, that's a legit
It's
reaction,
true.
right?
Yeah, it is. And I'm laughing because I agree. And here in Delaware
Yep.
too, if you go down below the canal, you're going to see a lot more TV antennas on poles
Mhm.
in next to older houses along the highway, not the freeway, but the highway. The further you go down south, and even down to Maryland and Virginia, you see the same thing. It's an older technology that's still out there for many people.
Well, the thing is, cable TV and satellite TV are now the most common way to receive over the air signals, if you will. And an old school TV antenna doesn't get bought as often, doesn't get seen as often, at least not in suburbia and HOAs where the antennas are not allowed, and so on and so forth. So that question, I'll admit that question aggravates me. But at the same time, I have to look at it from the angle of maybe they really don't know what it is, and they're trying to find out. And maybe if we approach the answer with a little bit of kid gloves,
Mhm.
maybe we can attract them to the idea that they might want to do what we're doing. And for all we know, that's the next big person in amateur radio that's going to take the world by storm and generate the next big thing, right? So it's a difficult teeter totter to have to navigate an amateur in social media. And there are times, the prime example being that question, I just ignore it because I know that someone else has either answered it properly or given them the snarky answer that I would give them. So there's no sense in me rubbing salt in the wound.
You got your bases covered, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fair. But
Is
let
it
me-
just me, or can hams be like the only ones that you get somebody that's interested in the hobby? Hams will like inadvertently go out of their way to almost change their mind, like talk them out of what they want to do between the questions and the answers, and you got to do it this way, you got to do that, and here you got somebody that's interested in becoming a part of the hobby, and we'll go above and beyond to convince them otherwise.
let me ask maybe from a different perspective, Carlos. Your big hobby outside of amateur radio is skydiving.
Yeah.
So if this was the skydiving Reddit, and a guy's like, I got an aviation background, and I want to get into jumping. Where do I start?
I would answer them the same way I would answer the radio question, which is look, if you have an interest in this and it's even slightly a possibility of an idea, look for the local place to you. And by the way, here's the website where you can find the local place for skydiving, and here's the place where you can find the local place for amateur radio. Dive into the local scene, because someone putting a radio in your hands, walking you through the process of making a QSO, is really powerful, right? Same thing with making a skydive. If I talk you to get in, if I talk you into going to the drop zone, and maybe considering the idea of a tandem there, the chances of you becoming a skydiver go up drastically, right? So my answer in either case would be, hey, let's get you some. Where are you, and work, here's some local resources you can tap into, and you can ask broad questions here, but if you want to get your hands dirty, here's where you go, right? And you push them to where the answers are,
So
where someone can put something in their hands and perhaps try to convert them into the hobby.
So is it that maybe we have too many things in amateur radio to throw at them versus parachuting, where you really only got you've got one choice, and that's the pretty much tandem with somebody to start off with, right?
I mean, not necessarily. You can, parachuting, you can start one of three ways. You can do tandem, you can do
Okay.
static line, or
Or static line, yeah.
and then you have what's called AFF, which is a free fall. And you're going out the door with two instructors hanging onto you, but deployment and flying that parachute's on you. Right? We're going to teach you everything we can, and if you miss the deployment, I'm going to throw the parachute open for you, but you got to fly it. You had to learn that much in the classroom.
Okay.
So,
but a much narrower focus
Yes,
of
absolutely.
options for somebody that would be interested in getting into that hobby. So maybe is that the question, that when people are looking at that, instead of the 37 different options that may or may not be relevant to what they're asking, maybe it is asking some questions but narrowing it down to just one or two options to at least dip their toe in it. Like Carlos was saying, maybe get them a radio in front of them and have them make a QSO, or just be there to watch that interaction of a pileup, and then or showing them a video of James,
Exactly.
working a pileup, right?
You
I mean,
know,
that's interesting to watch him do it. It's a fun thing.
let me flip the question around for just a second. What do you do when you're at the park and some young kid walks by in the parking lot and sees you playing radio and goes, "Hey, mister, what are you doing?" Because what I do is
Go away, kid.
I tell them what I'm doing, and I go, "Hey, get your parents. Let's get your parents
go.
in on board on this." And when the parent comes over, I explain to the parent, and I go, "If you're okay with it, I'll walk your child through making their first contact." And I have a massive pileup waiting for it. And I can go, "Hey, stand by. I have a youth I'm going to coach through this."
Mhm.
And I hand the mic to the kid and go, "Okay, this is what you say." And you coach them through it. You know what? They leave there going, "I want to do that." Now, whether they follow up or not is a different story, right? But they leave there going, "I want to do that."
Yep. I could say that I've had that same experience, not with a random kid in the park, but helping out Boy Scouts a few times. They really like the fact they're talking to someone so far away, sometimes
Totally.
on another continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, I mean, for me, the answer is generally for questions like this is put a radio in their hands. Find a way of getting a radio in their hand.
Okay.
And if they're an adult, you got to kind of figure out if they want to get in the hobby, what's their interest. Like this one example here, he has engineering background in electrical circuits. That's great. He, like Carlos said, he could be like the next big person in amateur radio, making some kind of device or software or something. Who
Or
knows?
the soda phone. Have you guys seen the soda phone?
Yes.
Creator of the next soda phone, the better version of it.
Yes.
But it's
The more portable version.
He seems like he's interested. Like the main thing, he seems like he's interested, but he's, like I said before, he took like a single tiny step, but he needs to come more forward into it and actually do the studying and taking the exams to get to a passing level and then take the exam. That's what I'm seeing. I mean, he's talking about his electrical engineering background, which some of the questions might come easy to him, just general knowledge for him, which is a great thing. It will help him study and probably get through the harder stuff.
So
But-
I identify with this question because this was me. I have an RF background. So this was when I took my first test, all the engineering questions, all the technical questions, I passed without a problem. It was all the regulatory stuff. It was all the where do I,
Mhm.
where do I sit and what do I do, and then getting an opportunity. I'd already had my general before I'd ever been on HF, and I went to a field day, summer field day with the Indianapolis Radio League Club, Indianapolis Radio Club, and I was told, and just go there and volunteer to help out, and they put me to work. And I got all the stuff that I didn't know. I got all the actual operating procedure. I got the regulatory stuff. I got this is how you throw up a portable tower, and this is how you string antennas, and the things that I didn't know. I could tell you how the line goes wiggly up and down, and not how to not get shocked, but all that other stuff, and that's uh, something that I would, if you're ham curious, definitely look for that. Look for POTA meetups where you can go and get it. You might stumble across that guy that's going to come over there and ham-splain to you, but it will at least give you some exposure to, hopefully in a good way, to what it is that's going on. Clubs have. We've talked about it. Clubs in general have kind of dwindled. Most of that because of COVID, and a new form of club has been born, and that's basically the online virtual club. And I think that's a good thing too, because I think that now serves more people than what it did in the past.
Yep.
But unfortunately, nothing beats face-to-face,
Exactly.
hands-on
Experience.
experience, just sitting down with somebody and
Experience and exposure. I've been to a few field days. I forgot what they're called for a second. And having people show up that have no clue of what you're doing, and be amazed that you're talking to all these different people through this big radio or small radio, depending on what you have.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazed, and to show them that and try to get them on the air. It's like, hey, you could do this too. Here's just what you have to say, and there you go.
Just thinking about something. I saw Walt's video that he did with Eric and Paul up there at the Marconi site. And I was thinking about that, and they were showing pictures of the antenna array, and this was the first transatlantic bidirectional voice thing, I think is what it was, or at least here to the United States. And I'm looking at all that stuff, and what they knew about radio then and what we know now is so much different. That same conversation can be had with a radio that's the size of my mouse here. So, which is interesting on how things have come. But you're right, Jeff. Until you get an opportunity to sit down and have that exposure and have that opportunity to have a step-by-step conversation, whether it's a young kid and their parents with Carlos at the park, kind of walking them through, or coaching them to do a live QSO, or myself sitting there and I sat with an older gentleman, and he showed me all the ins and outs of breaking a pile up and all the things you should be doing while you're waiting to get in there, like getting call signs down and things like that, because nothing infuriates me more when somebody asks me my call sign after I just called it out 5 times. But well, hey guys, this hour has flown by quick, and we wanted to go ahead and let's get wrapped up here before Ham Nation starts. When we go backwards, Carlos.
Me, guilty.
Guilty.
Carlos, life at terminal velocity, K9OL. I jump out of perfectly good airplanes and make videos about it for the most part. There's other content on there, but the shtick is jumping out of an airplane and making contacts.
Yeah. Where else can they find you besides on the socials? Where's the best place to find you?
All the socials. If you go to oh my, now you're thinking. I think it's Linktree K9OL or KD9OL. No, Linktree Life of Terminal Velocity. Actually, you know what? All that stuff is on my YouTube channel also. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, all my socials are there. And, watch the videos. And if you like them, leave them a comment. And if you don't, still leave a comment. Engagement is engagement.
Right on. Sorry about that. Speaking of which, down in the description is everybody's their YouTube channel there. So definitely there. Also, there's a QR code up there if you want to join the conversation with the Kids Club. Ham Radio Kids Club it's up there. Vince is our Vanna White for the night. Ooh, Vanna White for the night.
Ooh,
I think that's gonna have to. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We're gonna put everybody up in the Vanna White for the night.
I was doing that to Vanna the Vanna.
Oh, I get a Vanna the Vanna, huh? Well, John says the tie stick is kicking in.
Oh wow!
Tie stick. But well, good deal. Thank you, Carlos, for coming tonight. Mike, where can people find you at?
The easiest way to do it is the YouTube channel. I got links for social media there. But Mike N2MAK, you'll find me. And that's actually a good segue. I want to kind of bring it back. You were talking about our buddies Paul and Eric in the video with Walt. And just a shout out to the Live Free and Ham guys, because one of their more recent podcasts talked about websites for ham radio clubs. And the whole reason we had this episode today is because somebody posted this question on Reddit. I don't know if that was their first instinct to go to or not, but having just recently listened to that podcast, I'm on the board for my club, and I want to take a real hard look, because the answers to questions like that we just addressed here, those should be readily accessible on club websites. Honestly, like your club should talk about all the resources that are out there, not just what your club does, but things that are out there and available to everyone to kind of help them along the way. So I know after, like I said, coming across this on the podcast, I realized it's something I got to work on with my club in the coming year. But I just, shout out to them. And if you're involved in a club, take a look and see if, the answers to this question can be found on your website, because I think that's important. So,
and keep your websites up to date.
Yep. Yep. And just humorously, I'm going to say real quick, what would be hilarious to do is if we took this question and copy and pasted it to the POTA Facebook group. I want to see what that.
We would have to sign up for a stealthy account, because I think everyone probably at least has seen our names or
Kevlar underwear we would need.
We could just live stream and just see the responses come in. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So
that would be fun.
Where time is dwindling down here quickly.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no biggie. But Mike, you made a very good point. Vince.
Hey, so you can find me on YouTube at VE6LK, and I'm going to talk very quickly about my upcoming video because I am super stoked about this. Go read up on something called the Morse Telegraph Club. And I ran into these folks at a railroad show, Canada's largest railway show, this past weekend. And my upcoming video is all about the passion they have to bring telegraph back to life for historical purposes. And it's all about American Morse code, which is way different than international Morse code. And I think that's neat. So that's coming out on Tuesday.
Awesome.
That's my commercial.
Jeff.
Just search for my call sign, K3 Jersey, and you'll find me on the YouTubes. I am exactly 100 subscribers away from 2,000. So we'll see how long that takes. I still got stuff burning holes in my pocket of stuff to give away and taking up more and more room. But yeah, you can find me on the Instagrams and the YouTubes and the X's and the Twitters. Just K3 Jersey.
And Tim, what about you, man?
Well, I'm here every Sunday morning live streaming from the park at 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. An hour. It's been equated to Sunday school before ham church since Big Jim and To do ham church on Sunday mornings at 10. So it's part of that getting out and showing through demonstration. So I'm pretty much just doing a live stream of a POTA activation, and it's been a fun time doing it. And sometimes it goes great, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes somebody will ask a question in the chat, and I'll peel off and go through it. Somebody was like, I want to start doing POTA, but I've never done it before. So I basically walked through all the steps of getting the log set up, getting on the air, making contacts. And then after I was done, uploading them to the POTA page. So that has been good. So
Right on.
yeah. Any last parting words before we wrap it up?
Go play radio.
Get
And
on
go-
the air.
And go
Talk to
watch
someone.
Ham Nation. They're up next.
Yes.
The link is
Yes.
in the chat. Tell them we sent you.
Yes. Tell them the kids at the kids table sent you. And ask Josh when he's going to be on. There we go. All right, guys. thank you for watching tonight.
Yep.
And guys, thank you for being on the stream. And until next time, 73.
73 Ham Smarter.
73.